they are said not to hide a sufficient number of names and kind of put in risk some people, and some people will denounce them for it. But at the same time, if they manage to take down Wikileaks, they can take out all kinds of websites that provide leaks now. And in this case, going back to the issue of copyrights, if they can start to shut down the Pirate Bay, then there is the question: if they went down, the big one, what makes the smaller one safe or likely to even be willing to take the risk of having a penalty of 6 million, was it euro or dollars or krona? And I don't know. So we have.
But yeah, it just, like I say, it does ask a very interesting question on level of responsibility, and to me, it's sort of highlighted maybe a two-tier copyright law, whereby the size of you or your position in society dictates whether you get targeted. As you just said, Google has not been targeted, and yet its search engine can be used in exactly the same way as Malv could be used.
In political terms, usually they say that you have to earn legitimacy based on scale sometimes. So a country that does a certain things, if the country is sufficiently big and has a good PR operation and status, it can get away with lots of things that if you're a lone person doing that or a small group, you will be characterized as a terrorist organization. But when you're a big state, it's kind of a different story. So, and that's the same thing with the internet and with all kinds of companies. When you get characterized as a small group, you can be called a dangerous group, or you can have words like ringleaders instead of CEO, or so you have this issue of scale. Once you become a certain size, you're assumed to exist and have a right to exist. So Facebook is extremely big now. You won't see them sued or being taken down by one single lawsuit or even a class action lawsuit. Because they're just huge, they're part of the fabric of society, they're in the news even more than Microsoft is based on some survey. So they're assumed to be us, and we need them now. They are the fabric of society, and if they go down, and catastrophic things will happen.
Well, this kind of brings us on to another story as well, assuming we've covered that one. The idea that there's been a story rumbling around PC Mag. We'll include the notes and the link in the show notes. There's a tech dirt story. There's various parts of that. First of all, it was PC Magazine in the UK. I think it was in the UK. They published a story about LimeWire is closing and what's the alternative, and they laid out various things. And the RIAA and MPAA, which is the Recording Industry Artists of America, and the Motion Picture Artists of America, which is basically the recording and music industry suits, the lawsuits, the lawyers, representing the various record labels at Warner's and Sony and all that. They complained. First of all, they got their facts wrong, and they complained that there were about 2 articles, one of which wasn't even published by the same company. It was a rival company, but they looped them both together and complained about them both being the same thing. And what they'd said was this magazine published an article which, quote, promoted piracy, unquote. And the magazine basically responded. They never gave any return email, they never gave anything like that as far as getting back in touch, the sort of responsible way to approach it. It was the whole response was about our practices for the last 30, 40 years, 50 years is normal. We have got to protect this. And you are threatening, you are promoting something that goes against our interests. Rather than adapt, they try to shoot down the current, what people are doing. And the PC Magazine responded and basically said, look, we don't promote any piracy, but what we do is represent what people are doing with their PCs and with their software. They are downloading, installing all these various pieces of software What they do with them is entirely up to them. We're not promoting illegal use, and if no doubt some of them will download illegal versions of your music, but we are not promoting that. We are promoting the software itself, or we are not promoting it, but mentioning it as a news article, as in this is what's happening in the world of users, in the world of consumers. This is what they're doing. Whether you like it or not, doesn't matter. Whether you can adapt to it or not, doesn't matter. Whether your business model fits into that or not, doesn't matter. This is what people are using. So that was the article that I kind of drew my eyes to today.
Yeah, it's a too big to fail type of. In this case, it's not too big to fail. It's more like we are a culture, and if we don't exist, there is no culture, there is no creativity or artists or music, and the day the music dies, if there is no recording industry or people who will promote your CD or something, supposedly you will not listen to music anymore. That's what they want you to think. And then there is the issue again of banks and and how they, in their case, there is the financial system. So if people don't rescue the banks, people might not be able to even pull their money. They will basically do a run on the bank. But they know that, and you can see internal documents where they discuss the fact that they can afford to take very high risks because they cannot be let alone to die. Basically, they will have to be rescued because too many things depend on their existence. And they take this into account, that they always have this rescue and this type of a socialist thing where the public pays for them. And here with Hollywood, we have these. We had this discussion before. They don't want people to think of a chaotic situation where an industry dies overnight and something replaces that. People still listen to music, people still produce, and all of a sudden there is a great uprising and a great spreading of new singers, who take advantage of the fact people look for new things to listen to. The same thing happens with one of the ways to promote Microsoft is to say, well, if Microsoft disappeared now overnight, then the world would be a disaster. And the truth is, even a sufficient number of people with experience, you could actually install Linux for people and run things under Wine, and everything would work just fine. We have sufficient things to run the same programs, and it probably will work out better. So, again, nightmare scenarios, and the music industry and film industry supposedly dying when they show profits increasing year to year. So they always whine, they always want more shutdowns of competition, but their numbers actually improve over time, which doesn't correspond with their pleas.
Well, what we'll do, because like I said, we're running on a not a tighter schedule, but more compressed schedule. Certainly, we're recording to you from the UK at 12:30, very late at night for most of us. So
what you could call it is a tar.gz schedule.
It's quite late for us. Probably by the time people listen to this, it's going to be probably Wednesday in the afternoon or early morning. But I've got one other article which sort of grabbed my eye, Roy, and it was something that I'd like both yours and Gordon's opinion on. And it was quite interesting. I don't know how much of a element of truth there is to it, but it certainly does ask a couple of very, very interesting questions. And it's an article on the Inquirer. The headline is PC sales to slow the tablet and smartphone. PC sales slow to tablet and smartphone onslaught, and basically the article goes into details that they're expecting that the smartphone and the tablets to damage PC sales. I dented this particular article asking whether it was more bad news for Microsoft, because obviously they're pushing their operating system on the people that happen to walk into a store and purchase a new PC over the counter. That's not going to happen if the tablets and smartphones are replacing those PC purchases. I don't know if you've seen the article, Roy,
yeah.
but just your views on it. That was all.
The Inquirer is it's a strongly worded British publication, and they probably use all kinds of very colorful types of languages, different names for things and strong words. But I probably am guilty of doing the same thing sometimes to a certain extent. But